Welcome to Giver Marketing. This is our Tuesday Masterclass, and we are so excited to have you all here. More the merrier, we always say. We're here to help, educate, and help you with your marketing so you can succeed with your business. I am Christine Deane. I'm one of the certified coaches here at Giver Marketing, but I am not the star of the show today. The star of the show today is actually going to be Adam Fleming, and we are so excited to have you here because he's going to be talking about nurture naturally, which is going to be fantastic. But before that, let's tell you a little bit more about what Giver Marketing is all about. Stacy, cue it.
Here at the Giver Marketing Network, we don't leave you drifting out in space. We connect you to a coach who will help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies, strengthening your business while offering your talent to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
And that's us. That's Giver Marketing. So we're here to help. So feel free to reach out anytime. And we do have a marketing group. So you can come in there, get free advice. That's what we're all about. But today we're all about talking with Adam. Adam is a professional certified coach through the International Coach Federation and the founder of Motivational Listening International, an author, ghostwriter, executive leadership coach, pilgrim, pastor, friendship builder, from Goshen, Indiana, and he's traveled the world, including a 200-mile hike on the Camino de Santiago in Portugal and Spain. So, Adam, I'm just excited about having you talk to us today.
Well, I'm excited to be here. It's not my first presentation on the Giver Marketing Network, but it's the first one that was introed with that super cool video and everything. So, it's really cool to see how Giver Marketing is stepping up its game with these presentations. Pretty awesome to be here. You asked me if I was excited. I was like, yeah, I guess so. I do a lot of presentations. And then I saw that video. I'm like, wow.
That's what we're part of, right? How awesome.
This is cool. So, yeah. So you just rattled off a big list of all the stuff I've done and currently doing. I think I should also say that I've been married 24 years and we have 4 children, 1 in university, 2 in high school, and 1 in 6th grade. So I spend a lot of my evenings going to sports activities and concerts and school plays and all that kind of thing. And I love it. I wouldn't give it up for any pile of money. So I think it deserves repeating that I'm a family man and love spending time with my wife and kids. So
that's awesome. I miss those days.
On top of your intro, I had to say that.
Yeah, I've got an empty nest. So I remember those days fondly and I miss it. I do. That's fantastic, Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, we're having a good time. So today we are talking about nurturing naturally. And I think I picked that because it's kind of a play on, I think there's a book called Nurture by Nature or something that was about raising children back in the day. But we do want to talk about nurturing, which is the fourth major step in the Giver Marketing process, and has to do with, okay, you've got these relationships, you've got a database, you've got a CRM, you have an email list, you have social media, whatever it is that you're particularly excited about. And then you have to think, well, how do I nurture this? And I want to get to the point where we actually step out of the marketing world today by the end and talk about crossing the bridge to sales. Why? Because you can't eat leads. I think I was sitting here thinking about it that last night, and I was like, that's a nice quip right there. You can't eat leads. You've got to, at the end of the day, sell something so that you can put money in the bank that buys groceries. And so we want to talk about nurturing, but we want to talk about that process is eventually asking people for some kind of close. So I'll show you how that's done. Any questions before I dig in?
You got this, Adam. Go for it.
All righty. So let's see what we got here first. So why should you nurture leads? Well, this might seem kind of obvious, but I pulled up a few websites, looked up some stats because I think they can be really telling. But look at that. 96% of the people who visit your website are not yet ready to buy. So if you only want to sell to 4% of your potential customers, if that's going to keep you busy and fed, then maybe you don't need to nurture leads. But I don't know too many people who can sell to their 4% of their prospects and be okay. So, or beyond okay, right? We want to thrive. 48% of businesses say that most of their leads require long cycle nurturing. And so the question that I have for you is this you? And I want you to respond in the comments. Is that you? Do you think you require long cycle nurturing? Let me give an example of short cycle nurturing. You're at a street festival. You see a booth that sells lemonade. You walk up and you buy a lemonade. That's short cycle. Long cycle, I don't know what the technical definition is, but let's say more than a week for someone to make a decision.
For example, if you're going to go buy a car, do you walk on and buy the first one you see on the lot, or do you think about it a little bit? Are you doing your research, right? And that's
right.
I think a lot of companies, like you said, they're not ready to buy right away.
Well, and I've talked to some car dealers who say that when someone is ready to buy, they walk in and buy something pretty quick. So if you talk to somebody on the lot and you don't close them, there's a really good chance that within 48 hours, they'll go close somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So you want to be nurturing that lead so that you're the first person that they think of to come, and they come on your lot and they make that purchase. It looks like a short cycle because it seems like they're buying a cup of lemonade, but they're not. They've been thinking about buying a car for months. Okay, thank you, Facebook user. Yes, unless they have a crisis. Okay, yeah. I mean, a lemonade is a crisis, right? You're thirsty. So it's like, hey, it's hot out here. We're looking at these art booths, or we're looking at the classic cars. I need a lemonade. Boom, it's done. Almost everything else is a long cycle. So 29% of brands nurture leads beyond the initial purchase. Think about that. Somebody bought something from you and you forget to follow up with them ever again. So one question for you is, are you asking your biggest fans for referrals? Because that's a great way to nurture leads, not only for them to buy again, but actually a softer ask. Who do you know who might also appreciate my services? And even doing that 3 months after they bought from you might trigger them to buy from you again, or it might trigger a referral.
And Adam, just to follow up on that, think about, for example, insurance, right? A lot of times if they've got your life insurance, they want your car insurance, they want your house insurance, right? So you probably have more than one product or service. So if you keep building that relationship, right, eventually you want them to be able to use all your services that are good for them.
And that's a great example. Insurance is a great example. I've coached people in so many industries, and I've seen insurance people who admitted to me that they were afraid to do a 6-month check-in with their clients because they were afraid that if they looked at their policy, they might decide to go somewhere else. So live and let live, right? Just like let the sleeping dog lie. But the reality is that more often than not, when you say, hey, it's time for an annual check-in on your policy, that you're actually going to build trust, uncover new things that the client needs, and sell more. But it's interesting how people get this negative mentality that, wow, if I reach out to them and I already have their policy and I don't want to rock the boat, you're just leaving a lot on the table if you come in with that negative mentality.
Well, I hope you would be providing a stellar service, right? Or they have such great experience with you. You're staying in communication with them that they want to continue to do business with you, right?
We stopped doing business with an insurance company. My wife and I stopped after years and years and years. And I realized they never even sent a Christmas card in 20 years. It was a really, really long time since they'd contacted us to say, hey, your family's growing. What do you need? We ought to do a check-in. It was like they had our policy and had no interest in, and also didn't do a good job of service. That's what ultimately made us walk away, is when we did have an issue, they weren't responsive. They weren't on it. So
yeah, if you've ever been at a restaurant and you paid the bill and your drink never gets refilled again, there you go. That's it.
Right.
They've gotten your money and that's it. They're done with you. Bye.
They're done with you. Please move from the table so we can serve someone else. Right. So let's take a look at the last one. 63% of companies who are using, I know there's a lot of people who sell a variety of different marketing services in the Giver Marketing Network. So this one is specifically for you if you do sell some kind of marketing service. 63% of companies who are using automation in their marketing process, and automation has a lot to do with nurturing. Like you've got to automate something. You can't nurture every single one at a time. They're outsourcing all or some of it. So there's opportunity for you, if you're in marketing business, to lean on the lost opportunity cost as you sell automated nurturing. So I know Stacy and I are talking about, she's going to help me with some nurturing on my LinkedIn, and I'm going to outsource it, right? Because I'm better at ghostwriting and coaching than I am at doing this. So I understand it, but I don't want to do it. And that's common. 63% of companies understand it well enough to pay somebody else to do it. And that should be encouraging to you if you're in any kind of marketing business.
It doesn't bring you joy. It's not that you don't know how. It doesn't bring you joy to do it. And let's keep you in your superpower. That's right. What we're going to do with that, is keep you in your superpower.
Working in your flow, where you're most productive and most useful.
Yeah. And if you do own a marketing company, but this is not the thing that you enjoy, then outsource it to somebody else who's also in Giver Marketing Network. So that's a plug for all the members. Yay. Let's look at the next slide. Keep moving. There's this idea that people buy from those whom they know, like, and trust. And I'm sure everyone's heard that saying before. And I would argue that means that's someone they could consider a friend. Now, of course, it depends on how you define friend, but think about this. Who are the people you know, like, and trust the most? Would you call them friends? I think so. So besides knowing, liking, and trusting them, what else does it take for you to call someone your friend? I'd be curious to hear some answers in the chat, in the comments on that. Because there may be some additional things, like we share the love of skiing or tennis or something like that. I don't know. I found out this from my oldest son, who seemed to be amicable with all the kids in his third grade class. But when we asked him if he had any friends there, he said no. So he had a different definition probably of what it means to be a friend than I do. Showing actual concern. Okay, great. Love it. Yeah, it's hard to build trust if you don't show actual concern. But I would say that's a great addition.
Right. The difference between an acquaintance and a friend, right? When you think about that, you have people surface level. And I always explain, if you do a group activity, but you never do anything one-on-one with anybody, you haven't taken the time to really develop those relationships. They stay surface level. So, if these are your favorite clients, this is somebody you want to know a little bit more about. Like you said, you want to know their hobbies. You want to be able to know them on a more intimate level, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And especially nowadays with our virtual world, Christine, it's good to adventure out if you're local to any of your team members or any of your clients. Take that time and go have a coffee, go have a meal, take that time to venture out, because that is so different than we spend so much time on Zoom, especially within the Giver Marketing Network. Right now, we're representing 2 countries. I'm in Canada. Everyone else is in the United States. I have not physically met anyone until now, but that is something that will happen. And that's a big thing when it comes to friendship. I consider everybody in this room somebody that I would go to with, as a friend conversation on different levels. It depends on what the topic is, right? So just having the nurturing of being in person, seeing the eye contact, feeling the energy of the other person, a handshake or a hug, that's a different level as well of nurturing and being a friend to someone.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed that a Facebook user said protecting the interest. I'd like to hear more about that because I'm not quite sure what it means.
Yeah, I would think protecting the interest. It's kind of, you're looking out for them, right? Your friends you look out for.
Looking out for you.
Yeah, because I know I've got friends, they don't pay me to share their stuff, but I'm looking out for them. When I see they're doing something that I know other people might be interested, right? I share that information. So it's the enthusiasm. It's beyond just a transactional relationship. Yeah. It's that enthusiasm for them and wanting them to succeed and sharing what they're doing and putting them in connection with people that might have those same goals or might be a good synergy partner.
So not only protecting, Christine, but also promoting their interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, protecting and promoting. Maybe I think we've got that. Facebook user, if you have anything to add, please go ahead. But we'll take a look at the next slide here. So the tips for nurturing. I thought about this for a little while as I was building the presentation, and I said, "Well, be friendly. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it." So then I grabbed my open, honest approach and giving great advice. Okay, great. Good. So if you don't overcomplicate it and you get out your dictionary and your thesaurus and you start looking up what are some of the words that go with being friendly, what does it really mean? Being kindly, not hostile, but amicable, being supportive, helpful, favorable, reliable, likable, and guess what? Trustworthy. So let's talk about being trustworthy a little bit here, because your nurturing is for nothing if you don't maintain trust. As we said, we were giving examples of an insurance company that didn't actually give good service, didn't follow up much, but who cares, right? Until you actually need something and then the service isn't there. Then all of a sudden you're going, well, not only are they not really friendly, they're not very trustworthy. So first of all, some practical things to do as a friendly person. We'll get to trustworthiness in a second. Apologize about that. Smile. Okay, we're going to practice that. Anybody who's on the call, and even if you're on Facebook and not in the StreamYard, smile. There we go. Oh man, I feel the friendliness connection with you guys increasing already. It's like friendship steroids, right?
And Adam, you know what? Smile means even if you're on the phone.
Yeah.
Even if they can't see your face, we can hear your smile.
That's
right. If you're playing Eeyore, dome to dome, we know it. Smile when you get on those phone calls too, even if we can't see your smile.
It brightens up your voice. It definitely does. And that's a great tip, Christine. Thanks. Giving gifts. That's why do we call this the Giver Marketing Network? Because giving gifts is one of the things that friends do. Think back to when you were 5 and you were going to somebody's birthday party. What are you going to do? You have to make sure you have a cool gift in that little bag or in the box that's wrapped up, and everyone's excited about that. And then, it ends up being plastic junk that breaks in 5 minutes, but that's not the point. The point is you gave them a gift, you thought of them in advance, and you brought them something. And so, now I'm going to share something in a little bit that counters this idea of belief in others and assuming the best, but, don't worry about that because they can actually go hand in hand. I was thinking back to being 5, right? Sharing secrets. That's building trustworthiness as well. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily your deepest, darkest secrets, but when we get on these calls and we share the secrets to nurturing, that's like, I always think it's hilarious when I see other coaches on Facebook saying, I actually built a meme about this with the guy from The Princess Bride. I can't remember exactly what it says. I should have put it in this, but it says, when you say that you have a top 10 secrets in a free PDF, I don't think that means what you think it means. Because what is a secret really? It's not something you're going to give away for free, but this is what we're talking about, giving away secrets for free. Call to say hi, I'm thinking of you, no agenda. So sometimes a nurturing is there's nothing really to add, but to say, hey, I'm thinking about you, or, I saw on your social media that your family's going through a rough time or something, and you just call and say, I'm thinking of you. Then lend a helping hand. That's another great thing for friends to do. So if somebody is, I just think about somebody in my neighborhood, hey, we're cutting up this tree and need a stack of firewood. Can you come over on Saturday, help out for half an hour or something? Then you'll do that because they're your friend. And be encouraging about their goals, which Christine touched on a little bit earlier. Supporting people's stuff and sharing it out there on social media is a great way to be friendly. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about, all right, I'm seeing people say I do that all the time. Great. Love it. Okay, here's some tips for being trustworthy. Be crisp with your calendar and appointments. Somebody asked recently, what's the best tool I use in my coaching business? And I said Calendly. Boy, until I discovered Calendly, double bookings, forgetting things, making sure that Calendly is linked to my Google Calendar. I almost never double book or miss anything. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's much, much less likely. So showing up on time or sending a note if there's an emergency, because no call, no show appointments erodes trust, and it erodes it quickly. Double booking does the same thing. So 5 minutes before the call, oh, I have this other thing. I can't attend. I can't do the thing that I said I would do with you. What's that tell you? It tells you you're less important than the other thing. That's no fun. Keeping confidentiality is when it's expected, and sometimes even when it's not. Be discerning about what you share with others. That's a big part of being trustworthy. And don't tear people down behind their backs. Be careful how you speak about others. If you gossip, it will come back around to bite you. So these are just some basic things. But if you're not there to serve when you need to be there to serve, you'll be eroding the trust that you work so hard to build in all your nurturing. Okay. Now the flip side of believing in other people. The question is, will people forget your product or service? So, the most interesting man in the world says, I don't always forget your product, but when I do, remind me again. So this is a principle, kind of like Murphy's Law type of thing. Remember Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. So you want to believe in others, but you also want to recognize that sometimes they're stupid, or i.e. forgetful, and they're thinking about them more than they're thinking about you. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's their life they're living. But they'll do things like they'll say they'll buy, but then they don't. They'll say they'll send a referral, but then they don't. So I want to ask you, do you assume that they're being malicious?
They're just more concerned about their own lives and living that out every day, right? We're focused, center focused. This is what we do, right? Everybody does it. You're more concerned about feeding your own children than someone else's children.
Right.
Your family comes first.
Right. Your family, your own work life, everything. And so we could call it stupidity, but the point is it's not malice. It's simple forgetfulness, or it's neglect, or any number of other very human things to do, but they're not telling you they'll buy and then not buying because they want to, just burn you. Like, I told Stacy I'd buy from her, and then I didn't do it. Now she feels terrible. No, that's not what people are doing. That's not what they're about. 99.99997% of the time. There are a few malicious people out there, and if you can't smell them out, I don't know what to tell you.
The other thing too is it's going back, like, and making sure that you are on a regular basis, touching base with your clients, touching base, not just clients, with your contacts. I mean, you may have had a conversation a year ago, but then you go through, for me, I go through my LinkedIn and go, oh, wait a minute, I haven't seen that person. Or like yesterday, for example, I posted on LinkedIn, somebody liked my post, and then I dropped them an inbox. It was an invite for me to put an inbox. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for liking my post. How's things going? So that's also a way of nurturing as well. And keeping your contacts in your loop so they know what's going on.
Right. And reminding and nurturing are almost the same idea. I had a buddy whose Kickstarter went extremely well about 2 months ago, and he was selling a fantasy book series, and he grossed just over $10,000 on a 17-day Kickstarter. And I asked him, how it went for him. And he said, the craziest thing was, I just couldn't believe how many times I had to remind people before they went on the Kickstarter and backed it. And so when you're doing a campaign, especially, you just have to remember that people don't mind being reminded, like this guy in the meme. People do want to be reminded because they do care, and they do want to support you. So
just be nice. Be nice, like you said before. Be friendly. Be nice about it. Yeah. Don't show up saying, I got cement shoes for you, right?
Right. And don't show up going, I can't believe none of you guys have bought from me yet. What's the matter with you? Or because that's just assuming that they're being malicious. And if you start assuming that people are intentionally trying to get you, you're going to get yourself in trouble in terms of your own mindset. Right. Let's see. Okay. We still got plenty of time left. So before I jump into bridging the gap between marketing and sales, what other ideas or comments do you guys in the room have about nurturing? Tips that I didn't mention?
I think it's, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Go, Beth.
Sending a random card, a random letter, like just thinking of you, like card or letter. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be digital or phone call, but everybody still likes to get physical mail. I know I do. I get excited when something comes in the mail, especially if I'm one that I make things pretty with stickers and I've taken stuff to the post office and people are like, wow, that's quite the colorful box. Ask Beth. She's gotten one of those before.
Yes, we did.
There's also there's a great product out there called Send Out Cards. And I really do believe that it grabs attention because the mailbox is not where people expect to get spammed. And it's not spam if it's personable and friendly. I guess it's different from email because you do get spam there. And yeah, you get spam in the mailbox too, but there's something different about it. So if you don't know someone who is a Send Out Cards dealer, I can definitely hook you up with a woman named Amberly. Laura, you know her? Or do you do Send Out Cards also?
I do send out cards.
Oh, great.
With them. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then I'm not going to hook you up with Amberly. I'm going to hook you up with Laura.
No, that's fine.
There's nothing malicious towards Amberly here. We got Laura right here on the call. Laura, tell us a little bit about some results that you've seen people get with Send Out Cards that they don't get any other way.
I think with Send Out Cards, because you can personalize it and really, you can go online and find a picture that they have, or if you know them well enough and really have those conversations. I have a bunch sitting behind me that people have sent me. So when they take time to really say, hey, like, they know I love animals and I get a bunch of animal ones and things like that. So when you're able to personalize it, or a little tidbit about someone, and then you can put it into that card, that doesn't feel like spam. That's not spam. That's really, it's heartfelt. And even though your business information is on there, it still comes across as heartfelt, as caring, as genuine. So I love having that. And I always get an email back or something back that goes, oh, I just received your card, and they'll even take a picture with it or whatever. And those are wonderful things. Those are little testimonials of, your relationship, your know, like, and trust factor. And really just you're building rapport with, the people that you work with, don't work with, like just people you're getting to know along the way, in business and personally. So
I actually have one right here that somebody sent me a few days ago. They after I met with the guy for an initial networking call, he went and grabbed my logo online, popped it on there.
Absolutely.
He grabbed the most stern looking business photo. I don't know why he chose this one. that he could find on there, and he also put it on the inside. I'm like, man, I should just make sure that's offline because I look way too serious. Anybody who knows me knows I am not as serious as this picture would indicate. So
absolutely.
But he, and he said, thanks for investing your time. Grateful for our connection, and his name and phone number. So, it gets your attention for sure.
And Beth, I think you had something you wanted to add.
Yeah, the only thing that I was going to say was making sure, like, when you've got multiple clients, like I do content creation, and I have 2 or 3 clients that their content could be identical, but just putting something personal or using brand colors, using font, that kind of goes without say, especially on social media. You can just change colors and everything's the same, and theoretically it's different, but maybe changing the wording to sound more like one client compared to another, or just taking an extra 2 seconds to change the sizing because it would be more aesthetic for this one or that one. Just giving that extra 2 or 3 minutes to help them each stand out in a different way.
Well, and I'll follow up with that, Beth. The whole idea of nurturing, and we talk about brand and marketing. A lot of times we, as marketers, we get tied up into the brand and the colors, and sometimes a nice, simple letter, reaching out to nurture like that is better than having all the brands and the pictures and everything else, right? Just nice, simple email. Exactly. We forget about that sometimes, though. But, a lot of times they don't need all the flash and dash. They just want to know that we care about them.
I love that, Christine. You talk about branding, and really you are your brand. So things can look and present a great way, but you yourself, hands down, are your brand, and you are you in who you present and how you talk and what you believe in and the way that you handle not handle, maybe that's a bad word, but treat people and deal with them, and just your way of being you is 100% your brand, no matter how many other things you do with it. You are genuinely your brand. So love that.
You're showing your values, and hopefully your community is sharing those values, and that's why they're part of your community. So nurturing those values along also.
Mm-hmm. Just take a look at some of the comments we're getting in from the Facebook users. Yes, it's good to see you all. Great relationships have a good shelf life. I love that. That's like a nice little mantra to remember. Also, building relationships is an exponential opportunity. That's for sure too, especially if you, as we said before, if you're nurturing the past buyers and asking them for referrals as well. Anything else there? Be authentic, raw, and real. Okay, so Stacy's summarizing the whole thing really well. Great. I had a thought too when Christine, you mentioned letters. For a while, I was executive of a small nonprofit, and in the process of raising funds for that nonprofit, we did send out physical letters as well, and usually saw typically 4 times return on investment. I mean, you spend a couple $100 on postage and printing, maybe $200. And even with a very small list, I mean, I'm talking about a list of under 200 people that we would mail. But even with a really small list, we get a 4-time return on investment. Why? Well, we still have a generation who are in their life stage of being generous with the money they've accumulated, who respond to physical mail. My aunt, who is 71, went to my Kickstarter and backed it. And after a couple reminders, but she was very intimidated by putting her credit card in online. And so I asked her, well, it was pretty easy, right? And she goes, I did it. I was like, man, I thought there's hardly anything easier than backing a Kickstarter campaign online. But it wasn't easy for her. It's much easier for her to get a physical paper in the mail and write a check. And so if you're helping a nonprofit with a fundraising campaign, just because you're great at some kind of digital marketing, don't forget the physical mail. It goes along with the comments about send out cards. But one thing to remember, when you do a campaign like that, let's say in November, and you gather a bunch of money in December for the next year's budget, for example, for a nonprofit, when you send them a thank you, just say thank you. And that's not the time to do a second ask. There's a time for a second ask, of course, but as we've covered in so many ways in this presentation already, there's times where you just say thank you, and that's enough. That itself nurtures the relationship, because even for a nonprofit, everybody knows you need money again, like tomorrow. They know that. I've been there's a political action organization that I'm a big fan of. And they were doing a campaign, and they had my cell phone number and were texting me. And I was like, after I don't know, 6 in one day, I was like, okay, guys, I'm a huge fan, but this is too much. So this whole reminding people, it's a tricky balance. How many reminders on a text message do I want to get a day from a political campaign, a political action group for a specific special interest that I'm happy to send money? Just overwhelmed me with texts one day. And I was like, man, you guys are so close to having me opt out, and I really don't want to do that. But you're just really pushing me right now, because I was busy. I didn't have money to give that day, and I didn't need 6 reminders in one day, especially via text. So text message marketing is a tricky one. I was on the cutting edge of that when the short codes came out early on. Man, when was that? 2000, maybe 13 or so. I sold for a short code company for a while, and had a couple local restaurants as clients, and showed them how to set up their message, how to build a list. You could tell people, hey, 2 pizzas for the price of 1 today from 5 to 7, and get really, really high targeted response rates. But again, with text message marketing, I think you want to be really careful that you don't overwhelm people with your nurturing.
Yeah, that's so true, Adam. And there's so many different ways to nurture, right? We've mentioned whether it's emails, whether it's text messages, and you need to be careful, because they will opt out, right? If you're blowing them up with emails, and your audience becomes used to it. If they're used to getting weekly text messages on Mondays about this week's specials, right? That's simple. If they're used to getting newsletters once a week, that's fine. But if you start doing it every day, multiple times a day, right? You got to know your audience and build them and what their expectations are, because that's one of those times you don't want to exceed expectations.
Right. Exactly. There's a question here about how about asking how people want to be reached. So we could take the informal poll here. How do you want to be reached? Or we could also thinking about that in terms of asking people when you first come in contact with them, do you like to be texted? Do you like to, and then keeping that in your CRM as a reminder of, hey, don't put this person on my text message list. They're not going to appreciate it. Or don't send this person emails. They're not going to like it. So
yeah, and your CRM, a spot for you, a preferred method of communication.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Preferred. Huge. It's huge.
So for me in that regard, Adam, in the asking of that, it works well with when I work with dental clients, for example. I don't know how many times I have seen somebody that's like just not in the generation of texting get text messages and never a phone call. And I now pick up the phone and call those patients and they're like, oh, you guys do have phones still.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would rather have that. So then that gives me, and it is funny, Christine. It is so funny because people are like, yeah, I get these text messages from this office. I haven't got a sweet clue what to do with the text message. And it drives me nuts. So that gives me the opportunity. Yes, they have a cell phone, but not every single person with a cell phone wants to receive a text reminder or text anything. So like you said, ask that on the initial meeting. So as new patients, for what I deal with, I always encourage my clients, make sure your staff, please ask your staff, your on-site staff, because I'm a virtual staff, please ask your on-site staff to get that information and check those boxes correctly. Not automatically think because somebody gives you an email and somebody gives you a text message that they want their appointment reminders that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fantastic, Stacy. So, yeah, I appreciate that Facebook user question because, so now let's do the informal poll here. For those of you who are on the call, tell us how you like to be reached.
I'm okay with text messages as long as they're not blowing things up. Now, I had a recent experience. I'm not going to out the company, but they had texted to book the appointment, which was fine. I booked the appointment. And then they sent the email confirmation, which they then wanted me to respond to. Well, we were communicating in text. I'm not running around checking all my different formats of communication to see where they wanted that verification. I said, what? And they're like, oh, well, we're going to cancel your appointment because you haven't confirmed it in email. I'm like, I confirmed it in text message. Are you kidding me? Right. It can get very frustrating if you're going to make your clients chase you down in different areas. You know, if you're talking to them on the phone and that's how you book the appointment, then why not call to confirm it, right? Do it on the phone. But when you're switching modes of communication and the clients have to jump through those hoops, think about your processes, right? What's going to work well for your clients and keep it consistent for them.
Yep. That's great. I got this picture of being a kid playing outside and having mom come to the back door yelling for you. And then you start running towards the back door and she doesn't get an immediate response. So she goes to the front door and yells for you and you get to the back door and she's not there. Well, I guess mom didn't want me. So make sure you know which doorway you're calling people to and then stay there. Well,
no one else wants to be contacted, Adam. That's it.
For me,
I get it.
It depends. It depends. Business stuff, when it's for my business stuff, I like to have, I just want that showing up on my calendar. I want a calendar notification. So if I book on your calendar, have your calendar set up so that I can add it to my calendar. Because you're going to send me an email, yeah, but if you don't have it set up so that there's a button to add it to my calendar, you're high likelihood that email is getting buried. And I don't necessarily mean to miss the appointment, but if it's not there, to click that. Now, if it's personal, doctor's appointments, all of that, please just call me up. Leave me a voicemail. Then I get that voicemail and I'm going to call you back. And I think that's just because of where I came from and my years of experience in making those calls and how that makes people feel better.
Actually, I just was talking to an attorney this morning and they said, hey, we'll look this up and look that up and then we'll call you back. And I said, I really prefer you email me back because I'm in and out of meetings all day. But they called me back. I happened to not be in the meeting, so it worked out. But I told them how I wanted to be followed up with, and they did it different. Tim says he feels like text is more personal. It's direct access. So unless you have a relationship, you prefer messages, LinkedIn, or email. Yeah. So Tim, we're talking primarily about nurturing today. So I guess a question in response to that is, when and how do you decide that you have a relationship with someone that you're willing to cross over to text?
That's a great question right there. And if I think about it, your CPA may not want text messages, especially during tax season. If you're blowing up their phone, they're probably like, send me an email, right? If you have a business where you need to keep track, and it's very important of, a record of what's going on in the communications, I could see wanting something written out like that, as opposed to, I want to go to the courts and explain, well, here's the text message I got, right? Sometimes maybe lawyers and that kind of stuff, right, might want things more in an email format. Absolutely. I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's an interesting comment. Email is delayed response is okay. Text need immediate response. Phone call, house is on fire.
I like that. I really do, Adam. I like that a lot.
That's really good. And if I could just get my older generation in my family to figure out that that's how our generation operates, that would be awesome.
But it's really true, right? It's like the business I was talking about was texting to confirm and scheduling, but then they said, well, we sent an email at 6:30 and we sent an email at 7:30. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I didn't check my email within that hour and a half time frame. But this was so important that you're going to cancel my appointment? Really?
Right.
You want an immediate response. Do not assume everybody's sitting at their computer 24/7 waiting for your email to come through.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the point to this comment about, the phone calls, the house is on fire. That's a good point, especially when you're someone like me who's nowhere near family. And I'm in different time zones. I'm right in the middle of my family for time zones. So if my mom is calling me late at night, her time, my immediate response to her is
house on fire.
What? Yeah. Like, what's going on? What's the emergency? Like, and then she'll go, why do you always go to that? Because I'm like, it's late out there. You're not supposed to call me this late at night. Like, if you're calling me this late at night, there's an emergency. I mean, it's okay that you do that, but that's my first go-to, because I'm literally smack dab in the middle of the country, and I have time zone differences on both ends for family on both sides. So if I'm getting calls, I know that there's something that's up. So yeah, and I like this for sure.
Yeah. I like Tim has responded to the question I asked him, and he said, in terms of feeling like text is more personal and otherwise keep it to messages, LinkedIn, email. And he says they need to know who I am, what I do, and have at least some idea of what I need or can contribute. And that's a great answer, Tim. I think you can see there that there's some knowing and maybe implied liking and trusting it as well. Before Tim wants to give you his cell phone number so you can text or, God forbid, call him. Just kidding, Tim. But I actually very rarely give advice to my coaching clients, but I was working with someone who is working in the United States cross-culturally, and he was asking me, should I call these prospects? And I said, man, I think you probably ought to consider texting them and asking when a good time to call is. So hopefully that was good advice for him.
Next generation advice, right? If you go back 10, 20 years, they would have been like, just call.
Right.
Things have changed.
And the main reason that I would give that advice is because I'm working with someone who's in a cross-cultural setting and they don't necessarily know how the business culture in the States works. So, if anybody who knows how I coach, that I very rarely give advice, but that was one time when I did, because, most people are more like Tim Samuelson. They don't want you they don't want you, actually, he says he doesn't want to be texted unless he knows, but these are people who already have an established relationship. So text first, ask when a good time to call would be.
But that's a very good point about putting that in there, Adam, because cross-culturally, I've worked in lots of different offices, and as somebody who's worked in an office, it's dealt with different cultures. It is a huge thing. People just walk in to a clinic because there's some places where just there is no appointment setting type clinics. It is literally walk-in clinics. And so when they're coming over from different countries into North America, where it is appointment based, it's really different. It's a cultural shock to them. And us as administrators and us as nurturing people that are in the offices that are working in these things, and I just keep bringing this back to office because that's what it just relates well to me. It makes sense to know those things. So it's really, as well, it works in marketing. Know your audience, train your audience as to where they're going to get the information from. So are they going to get giver marketing information from email, from texting, from LinkedIn? You know, with us, we do a weekly email. We send out a weekly email for these Tuesday sessions to tell you what's coming up. So watch your email for those kind of things. You know, if there's something that you do not want to receive email about, then, you know, let us know those kind of things if you don't want to be on that list. And nobody is going to get angry with you or think any less of you if you unsubscribe to our email list. If it's just not something that you want to see every week and in your inbox. That is something that I think is really big to know as well when it comes to people sending out the marketing information in the email. Yeah, of course we don't want to lose people on our list, but it is also okay for our audience to hit that unsubscribe button if it's not serving them and their needs right now.
Yes, Stacy, I would add that make sure when you're sending out, because as you said, Adam, you need to automate some of it. You know, you can't individually email 2,000 people every week, right? It just wouldn't happen. But make sure that there's a way for people to unsubscribe from text or from email, because that's the most frustrating thing when you just can't. And I have a couple emails from companies coming on right now that I can't unsubscribe. And one of them I unsubscribed, but I guess they have multiple lists or whatever, and they still are emailing me after I unsubscribe. But there's one that they change like who it's from based on the topic every time it goes out, and there's no way to unsubscribe. And so they're emailing me 3 times a day. And it's something that I did subscribe to in the beginning, but I don't need 4 emails a day from them. Like, I'm just not interested. And they won't let me get off their list. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, but you're facing potential legal action if you don't make it possible for people to
unsubscribe. Well, yes, it is technically illegal to not let people unsubscribe. So if you're sending out text messages, at the bottom, it should say, if you do not want to receive these anymore, like type stop or whatever it is and send it. And at the bottom of your email it should say, if you don't want to receive this anymore, unsubscribe here. And there should be a link. But I'm noticing more and more companies that don't have that. And it really is a problem.
Yeah, for sure. And Tim says it's not so hard to demonstrate you can create some level of value for someone. They just need to convince me or anyone that you understand their challenges and pain points. So listening well, understanding things from the person that you're talking to is critical to building the trust that will eventually get you their cell phone number or their snail mail address so you can send them a send out cards or a handwritten note card for that matter. So thanks, Tim. We just have a few minutes left. I got a few more slides I want to show you and talk through the basic idea that I put together, bridging the gap between marketing and sales, which is not something I've heard our fearless leader talk about a whole lot, but I think it's worth talking about. So I put together an acronym, and a really alliterative acronym for that matter, the gap between marketing and sales. So start with the G, give gifts generously. Then the A, ask and ask again. And then the P, provide a payment portal. Brilliant, isn't it? I love it. I'm so pleased.
You are brilliant, Adam.
I'm so pleased with myself. So I know I've been around this network for a little while, so I'm going to demonstrate what I just told you by giving you a gift and then asking and providing a payment portal. Well, real quickly, nurturing in crunch time, when it's time to sell, it's okay to make an ask, make an offer, invite people to interact with you financially to sell. It's not a dirty word. It's okay. It's good for you. It's like eating your broccoli. As I said at the top, you can't eat leads. You can eat broccoli. I would prefer to buy something else, but you got to do what you got to do. So after nurturing relationships for months or years, once in a while, it's time for an ask, and you can run a short campaign with an ask every day, which I've been doing for the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to show it to you. But first, my gift to you. This is important. 1 free coaching session on your nurturing process, and you will come up with an action step to move you forward by the end of the 60-minute meeting. So if you would like to set an appointment for free with me, go to calendly.com/AdamFleming/60. And so that you don't forget, sign up today. And Stacy, I can't see exactly how to put a comment in. So if you would like to put that link in the comments for me, that would really be helpful. So that's my gift to you. And with great gratitude for attending today. Okay, but I'm also going to tell you what I'm selling this week. And this is my newest book. It's called Old Roads, New Friends. It's reflections on the Camino de Santiago, the 200-mile hike that I did last November. And currently it is only available through Kickstarter. It is not on Amazon and won't be for 6 months. So this is an exclusive opportunity to get a copy of this book. And it is only going on until September 30. And I'm happy to say that I'm already at 105% of my goal. So it's definitely going to happen. And so if you're interested in getting a copy of this book before it's on Amazon, an exclusive signed copy, you can go to that link there. I don't know if Stacy can put that in the comments or not. Yeah, she's getting it up there. Okay, and so this one, I don't know if you can copy that out of my slides or not. It's http://kck.st/3 So you're welcome to check that out. And then I'm also selling this week a Listening for Leaders course, which begins this Friday. Thanks for putting that in the chat for me, you guys, in the comments. I really appreciate that. This is a once a month course on better listening and asking better questions. And this cohort is beginning this Friday. So it's really coming down to the wire here. And we have 5 people in the course. And you can either talk to me about that when you do your free appointment with me, if you're able to get it in this week, although I'm pretty booked up. Or you can, you know what, I'll give you my cell phone number and you can text me if you're really interested in this course that's starting Friday. And my number is 574-238-7872. So there, I'm gonna peel back the slides and show you how I just did the GAP. Gave the gift generously, actually gave you 2 asks because I have 2 campaigns going on at the moment. And then also made sure that you had the link so you could go and pay for something if you want to. What do you guys think of that process?
I love it. Like you said, a lot of times people are marketers, they stop at marketing, and then how do you get to the sale? Nice, clear, direct, easy to follow. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome. Realize that we've got seconds left. So I want to thank you all again for coming today and or attending on Facebook or wherever it is that you're accessing this. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and thanks for all the interaction. Really appreciate that from everybody.
Thank you, Adam, for coming in and pouring into everyone and sharing. Absolutely. And great information today. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for tuning in to Giver Marketing. We are here every Tuesday, so 8 a.m. on the West Coast, 10 a.m. on Central Time, and then 11 a.m. on the East Coast. So you can join us every Tuesday. If you want to make sure you don't miss anything, you want to make sure that you sign up for our group. Stacy, do you want to tell them how to get into our group?
www.givermarketing.com/group. I will drop that in the chat again.
There it is. Come join us. Come join our group. We're always looking to help, and great resources in there. We've got a whole slew of marketing professionals to help guide you in your business. And so thank you everyone so much. We are at the end, but
awesome. Thank you. Same channel next week. We'll see you again.
Thanks a lot. Take care.